Bill O'Reilly here. You are listening to the O'Reilly Update. Coming up next, the news with Mike Slater.
Thank you, Bill. It is Friday, February 3rd, 2023. Here's what's happening today in America. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a Chinese spy balloon. Who is Joe Biden's new chief of staff? The squad comes to her defense, and they will not stop until your stove is theirs. And Bill, of course, will be back with the message of the day. But first, the Pentagon confirming we spotted a Chinese surveillance balloon over the United States. What is that? It was last seen over Billings, Montana, well above commercial air traffic. According to the Wall Street Journal, Biden suggested that the balloon be shot out of the sky. The Pentagon was against due to the risk of civilian deaths underneath. The chief of staff is the most important job in Washington, D.C. It can make or break a presidency. There have been presidents with no chief of staff. It's one reason why Jimmy Carter was so ineffective. Great chiefs of staff like Reagan's James Baker, who called the job the worst blanking job in Washington. Chief of staffs that let nothing get to the president. H.W. Bush's, he ran such a tight ship that Bush had a post office box in Kennebunkport that his cabinet knew they could send him stuff to get around the chief of staff. And terrible chiefs of staff, like Gerald Ford's first, who lasted only 44 days. Joe Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, is out, making way for Jeff Zients. He was in charge of Biden's COVID task force. This is the guy who came up with the unvaccinated are looking at a winter of severe illness and death. That was Jeff Zients. Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, born in Somalia, a Muslim woman, kicked off the Foreign Affairs Committee for her anti-Semitic comments. She said, among other things, we must have the same level of accountability and justice for all victims of crimes against humanity. We have seen unthinkable atrocities committed by the U.S., Hamas, Israel, Afghanistan, and the Taliban. Fellow squad member AOC coming to her defense on the House floor, saying kicking Ilhan off the committee is about targeting women of color in the United States of America, even though McCarthy also kicked off two white guys from committees too. A few weeks ago, we found out that the federal government was planning to ban gas stoves, and people freaked out, and the Fed said, what? No, we would never do such a thing. Meanwhile, in California, they've already done it. I live in San Diego. All new construction, no gas hookups allowed. And if you currently have a gas hookup, it's going to be removed by 2035. And I said weeks ago, just get ready. I promise you, they're serious about this and they will not stop until they take all gas stoves away. And sure enough, the Energy Department proposing new rules to regulate gas stoves. I'm Mike Slater. Bill O'Reilly will be here with your message of the day and something you might not know next.
Many timeshare owners are upset that their yearly dues continue to increase, and the annual fees never stop, even after you quit using the property. So if you are stuck in a timeshare, you're not alone. With an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau and hundreds of 5-star testimonials, family-owned Lone Star Transfer is the only company you can trust, guaranteeing the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. Lone Star Transfer's customer service is second to none. They will make your experience a pleasant one, done legally, ethically, and quickly. So start the new year off right with a free, no-obligation consultation. Call 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. 855-551-7066. Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. Here's what this black studies controversy is all about. Governor DeSantis, white guy, is worried that these courses will present material to Florida students that is based on opinion, not facts. The very well-publicized 1619 Project, touted by the New York Times, is a great example. Here we have a so-called historian putting forth that America was developed with slavery being the primary motivating force. Balderdash is too mild a word for that. At this moment, I'm writing a book called Killing the Witches, which explores the true origin of our nation's founding. From the very beginning in Plymouth, it was religion, not slavery, that established the expanding colonies, and it was a harsh religion. So Governor DeSantis and others fear that school courses involving race would largely become propaganda designed to mislead students about the true nature of their country. That is a valid fear. Traditional historians like me would never be hired to teach a Black Studies course. It would likely be an activist in the classroom, not an instructor. And what about the students who dissent from the activist narrative? What happens to them? Any diversity or race-targeted mandatory state courses should be rigorously thought out and disciplined. This isn't communist China here. In school, including college, facts, not indoctrination, should be mandatory. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. Jill, if Donald Trump runs again, it looks like he will. It could very well be the end of the country as we know it. He will not win. It's a steep climb. Alice Ortrisco, Ontario, Canada. Monica Crowley said Michelle Obama is going to run for president. You said that if she runs, she'll win. God help us. Well, I haven't heard anything. And she'd have to declare by June of this year. But if she runs, Michelle Obama could very well win. Jenny Meyer, Elko, Nevada. Bill, you said to find out why those police officers in Memphis beat Tyree Nichols to death, they need to be interviewed, and you suggested some academics should be used. Why would you want to do that? Because academics are shown to be time and time again liberal. Look, it's social scientists that we need, part of the governor's task force that he puts together. No ideology. I understand your point, but we need facts here. Okay, we need to analyze why these officers did what they did and committed symbolic suicide. Jim Vaughn, Hudson, Ohio. I just read about another 15-year-old kid dying of a drug overdose and watched his mother crying. I couldn't agree more with your sentiment about pushes. We've been told by Barack Obama and the new culture that the pusher isn't that bad. The mistake President Obama made was saying that people who sell fentanyl, heroin, crack, methamphetamine are not committing a violent crime. That was a huge mistake by President Obama. I pointed it out at the time because, as you say, the seller of the poison is responsible for what the poison does to the buyer. In a moment, something you might not know.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-925-7584 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-925-7584. That's 800-925-7584. What do you have to lose? Call 800-925-7584. Again, 800-925-7584.
Now, the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 110 years ago today, the United States ratified the 16th Amendment to the Constitution. For the first time, the federal government imposed a national income tax on all wage earners. Here is the story. Since the Revolutionary War, tariffs were typically paid on specific goods like alcohol and tobacco. Those taxes funded the federal government. In the early 20th century, the United States was growing at a historic rate. Lawmakers in Washington needed more money to fuel westward expansion, strengthen the military, and build modern infrastructure. So the House approved the 16th Amendment in 1909. During the presidential election of 1912, all three candidates, William Howard Taft, the president, Theodore Roosevelt, and Woodrow Wilson, favored the new tax. On February 3rd, 1913, the amendment was ratified. The law simply states, quote, Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived, unquote. In its first year, the average tax rate was 1%. The highest bracket, 7% on earnings more than $500,000 a year. And back in 1909, there were very few people getting that. There were no adjustments, deductions, or other loopholes. Today, the federal government takes in $5 trillion a year, trillion. Half of that comes from personal income tax. The typical American household hands over 23% of its earnings to the IRS. That number drops to nothing for the very poor, reaches 37% for the rich. Today, some Democrats are demanding a so-called wealth tax. The proposal would confiscate money from people based on their total assets. Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders want a 2% annual tax on every household worth more than $50 million. And here's something else you might not know. If you think $5 trillion is enough to run the federal government, you're wrong. On average, Washington spends $6.3 trillion every year, so the deficit is $1.3 trillion. Now this. Inflation at its highest level in 40 years and interest rates are skyrocketing, as you know. Market experts like Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, predicting recession. So to protect your future, do what I did. Call the only precious metal dealers I trust, American Hartford Gold. They will show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. You can get started with a short phone call. They will place physical gold and silver right at your door or inside your IRA or 401k. Please tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. Don't wait. You can call them now, 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Again, 877-444-GOLD or text GOLD to 65532. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.